We complete the skeleton by going over developmental aspects, so we're looking at the fetal skull. In a fetal skull, the cranial bones are not fused together. The sutures have not formed yet. So the fetal skull and an infant skull will be movable, which is designed for the birth process. Sutures will develop within about a year, but before that, an infant is left with soft spots. We call those fontanelles. We see them here, here, and here. However, we should know the name of the largest soft spot or the largest fontanelle, which is the anterior fontanelle. That is where the frontal bone meets the two parietal bones. Let's recall the roof of the mouth, which we called the hard palate. So this is inside the mouth. There's your hard palate. It consists of two pairs of bones. The anterior 2/3 of the hard palate is called the palatine process, and it consists of the maxilla, two parts of the maxilla. The posterior 1/3 of the hard palate is the palatine bone, and there's two of them. They're joined in the center, and they fuse in the center during development. If the palatine process and palatine bones do not fuse in the center, we're left with a gap or a cleft. Right? We call that a cleft palate. That's when the maxillae and the palatine bones refuse to fuse or fail to fuse. And recall that the palatine process here, and here is part of the maxilla. Though there is a cleft palate which can be surgically repaired. We are born with a C-shaped spine, and that is our primary curvature. So throughout life, we always have this primary curvature in our thoracic and sacral regions. However, we develop the opposite curvature in your cervical and lumbar regions. Let's look at this on an image so it makes a little more sense. This is our primary curve from the fetal position. From the posterior view, it is convex. When a baby begins to crawl, we develop the opposite curve, a concave curve from posterior view, in the cervical region. So since we weren't born with this curve, this is a secondary curve because it was learned. When the infant becomes a toddler and starts to stand and walk, well, we develop this lumbar curve, which is also concave from the posterior view. Since this curve was developed, it is a secondary curve. So what remains from the fetal curve, the primary curve, is the thoracic convex and the sacrum convex curve. So your primary curves are your thoracic and sacral curves, where your secondary curves are your cervical and lumbar curves.